Imagine this. The sky darkens, the winds howl, and the first drops of rain hit the ground. But for Noah and his family, this is just the beginning. Inside a massive wooden ark, surrounded by thousands of animals, they are about to embark on the most challenging journey of their lives. This is the untold story of Noah's Arkansas, but let's go back to where it all started. The world had become a dark place. Corruption, violence, and chaos ruled the earth. Humanity had lost its way, and then Noah received a command: build an ark. Now, put yourself in Noah's shoes for a moment. You wake up one day, and God tells you to build a massive boat, bigger than anything ever seen, because a flood is coming to wipe out the entire world. Imagine the disbelief, the confusion. But Noah had faith, and he obeyed. Building the ark was no small feat. It had to be enormous, 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. That's the size of a modern cargo ship. And remember, Noah didn't have cranes, sawmills, or modern technology. Just primitive tools, his hands, and a few helpers, his sons. The construction took years, decades, perhaps even a century. And all that time, people mocked him. Look at the crazy old man building a boat in the middle of dry land. They laughed. His family suffered humiliation. His wife, his sons, and their wives were ridiculed, seen as outcasts. And yet, Noah kept going. Then, something incredible happened. The animals began to arrive. Imagine standing outside the ark and suddenly hearing a distant rumble. Birds in the sky, flocks moving together. A herd of elephants in the distance, the ground shaking beneath their feet. Lions, zebras, rabbits, snakes, creatures of all sizes and shapes making their way to the ark. 2 by 2, just as God commanded. But how did they all fit? How did Noah and his family organize thousands of creatures in a wooden boat? Well, first, they had to separate the animals. Predators from prey. Birds in the upper levels, large mammals in the lower decks. The ark had 3 levels, countless rooms, storage areas for food and water. And then, the moment of truth. The door closed. The sky turned black. And the flood began. The rain was relentless. Not just a drizzle, a storm. Imagine being inside a giant wooden box, floating in total darkness, while rain pounds the roof and waves crash against the walls. The smell of wet wood, damp hay, and animal fur fills the air. The first few days were pure chaos. The animals were terrified. Some panicked, roaring, screeching, flapping their wings. Others refused to eat. Noah and his family worked nonstop, trying to calm them, making sure they were fed. But how do you comfort a lion? Or keep an elephant from panicking? The family barely slept. The sounds were deafening: thunder, wind, water slamming against the ark, the cries of the animals. There was no silence, no moment of peace. And then reality set in. The ark was not just a safe haven, it was a prison. There was no way out. The air was thick and stale. There was only one small window at the top, and it barely let in any light. The family had to adjust to a new way of living. Feeding the animals was an endless task. They had stored tons of food: hay, grain, dried meat, fish. But rationing was crucial. The bigger animals ate enormous amounts. The carnivores needed meat. How did they manage? Perhaps Noah preserved food, dried fish, or fed some animals alternative diets. Then there was the issue of waste. With thousands of animals, the waste was overwhelming. They had to clean constantly, using buckets, shovels, anything they could. The stench was unbearable, and disease was a constant threat. They collected rainwater, stored it in barrels, rationed every drop. Dehydration was a real danger. Mental struggles were another challenge. They had no idea how long they would be trapped. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The stress, the uncertainty, the cabin fever. It must have taken a toll. Imagine being locked in a dark, smelly, overcrowded wooden ship for an entire year. No fresh air, no sunlight, no escape. No matter how strong their faith, doubt must have crept in. Noah was a man of faith, but was he also a man of patience? The tensions must have been high. Imagine his sons arguing. Shem, Ham and Japheth, all exhausted, frustrated, snapping at each other over minor things. Maybe they blamed Noah. How much longer? Are we even going to survive this? Maybe Noah's wife struggled too. Imagine her exhaustion, her longing for the outside world, her quiet tears at night when no one could see. Maybe she missed the life they left behind, even if it was corrupt. Faith is easy when things go well. But inside that ark, with no land in sight, no sign of the flood receding, faith must have felt like a distant memory. Then, one day, the rain stopped, but the world was still covered in water. Days turned into weeks, then months. Noah sent out a raven. It never returned. He sent out a dove. Nothing. The waiting was unbearable. Then, finally, the dove returned with something in its beak, an olive branch. A sign of life. A sign of hope. And after over a year inside the ark, the moment arrived. The ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The doors opened. Sunlight poured in. The animals rushed out, running free into the new world. Noah and his family stepped on a dry land, taking their first breath of fresh air in what felt like an eternity. The world had been wiped clean, but Noah and his family had lost everything. Friends, neighbors, homes, all gone. They were the only humans left. Imagine the weight of that responsibility. They had to start from scratch. And as they stood there, staring at the empty land before them, perhaps they felt relief. Perhaps they felt grief. Or maybe they just felt tired. Because the ark wasn't just a boat. It was a test of faith, a test of endurance, a test of survival. And now I ask you, could you have survived the ark? Let me know in the comments.